everybody. Welcome to Unbound Wisdom. Today, I have a very special guest. This is a friend of mine. Her name is Nora. And I asked her to come on today for a number of reasons. Partly because she is a dream expert, and also because she is a very gifted mystic and intuitive healer. And I've always really, really loved her energy and felt an affinity with her. So I wanted to introduce her to all of you guys and hopefully have some really interesting conversations about the dream space. So to start, Nora, if you wouldn't mind, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and maybe give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, what an introduction. Wow, thank you so much. I'm really glad that you have me here today. Yeah, so I'm Nora. As she said, I am a little bit of a mystic, and I feel like I was actually born into that. So my background is a little bit of, maybe you could call it magic in a way. So my parents were kind of a witch and a wizard in a way, but maybe not always in the most beneficial way. And it goes back to my grandparents from the Spanish side. And so I grew up as being a little bit of the child in the Adams family. And it's so funny because I grew up in a place where people knew about my background and that everything was a little bit strange with our family because my parents were struggling for a while and divorced. And then I came to Switzerland, to this place where I grew up, and the energies were just kind of strange in that sense because people could sense that something was strange with me and they would tell me. And so I kind of grew up in that, almost like being pushed into, just being strange. And I felt strange, and I was always able to sense other people's energies, sometimes the thoughts. And, just I used to see ghosts, and we had a little bit of paranormal activity in our house. And when children would come over, they would notice that, and then they told their parents, and then they weren't allowed to come over anymore because they thought, "Oh, this is creepy." But I tried to kind of just be I tried to be normal, and I tried to act normal, and I was really good at observing people. And I kind of learned very early on that people expect you to behave in a certain way. And then, going to school and all the social programming. And with the time, I kind of lost my authentic self because I tried to become a person who I wasn't. And the older I became, like, strange things kept happening in my life. I went through so many traumas, and I don't know, I reached a point where I started to accept that I was probably sick, because I went to the doctors and told them about how I feel and what I think, and just about my experience in general. And they explained that, yeah, that I have some, psychological condition, and that I should have pills, and that I'm depressive and stuff. And I was depressive, but because I thought that something was kind of broken within me. And then I went down this road. So I went through, the doctor's thing with the therapy, and, trying to numb myself and my feelings, and just trying to shut everything out. And then at one point, my authentic self kind of returned to me through the crystals, actually. So that was an interesting thing because I was just living, my little programmed person. It was kind of like a show in a way, because I knew that this wasn't me and that I was putting on a mask interacting with other people because I thought that this is how they expect me to be. Um, and yeah, then the amethyst one day just called me, and I started to get into the energy of crystals again. And then I remembered how I used to talk to the crystals when I was a child, because I didn't have many friends, right? But I used to talk to my crystals. I used to connect with the spirit of Mary Magdalene. Um, and all of this returned through the crystals, and it was a very slow, gradual process. When I was always interested in the universe, and I loved just watching all kinds of documentaries about the planets and yeah, just everything that has something to do with space. And then I started to become more interested in quantum physics and in astrology as well, and started to notice that, yeah, there are so many influences that we have like all day, and we're being bombarded by so much energy. And people that are sensitive can be overwhelmed by all of this sometimes, especially when you went through a lot of trauma. And yeah, then I was interested in the more spiritual aspect of things. And then it started with, numerology and being interested in the chakras and also all this astral projecting, astral traveling stuff. And then there was this one day where I was working as a cook, and I was seeing these same numbers for a while already. But this day was super special because I saw these numbers again. It was 211217
Interesting.
for weeks. And the day was December 21st, 2017. So it was these numbers that were shown to me. And that was the day when my third eye opened. And yeah, I explain a lot of that in my own YouTube channel, so I will not get into it into detail. But that was the day that kind of changed my mindset in the sense that I wasn't okay with accepting that people are telling me that I'm crazy or that I'm depressive and that I'm powerless, that there's nothing I can do. I cannot stop the medication.
Mhm.
Um, and that day just changed everything. I mean, of course, in the first moment, I thought, okay, maybe I'm having a psychosis because I'm not feeling like myself at all anymore. But it wouldn't go away. And yeah, I started just going down a brand new path with not wanting to, depend on doctors and anyone telling me what is sane and what isn't, and stop the medication completely. And I think it was the best decision of my life.
Mhm.
So that's how my self-healing journey started. That's how I started becoming interested in healing and in working with the energies myself, because my goal was actually to, you know, be able to help myself instead of thinking that I depend on anything or anyone external waiting for them to save me.
Yes. Mhm.
So that's basically, that was a lot already. Yeah.
That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. So, how did you get into healing for other people?
I started a pure energy healing course from Mark Bayersky.
Uh-huh.
And that was when it just started with the COVID restrictions on the planet. The course is usually either in, I think, in Italy,
Mm.
or just, it was usually people used to travel there and do the 4-day intensive course, but we weren't able to travel, so we had to do it online. And we did it. And at first, I only wanted to do the course because I wanted to have sort of a strategy or some kind of a plan on how to work with energies and how to heal myself. Um, and then I went through this course and it was really intense. It was like 4 days of being somewhere totally different. Although I was still at home, I was just totally in this bubble. And yeah, it was one way that showed me how we can start to sense and see energies and work with them. And I still use a lot of what I learned in this course. Um, but by then, I didn't really plan to ever do this professionally. But within the course, I noticed that I can use this to heal myself and I can also heal others. And that was also a little bit part of the course. So yeah, and I was kind of overwhelmed that people would feel things, although I wasn't, a professional healer. I had just started, and just tried it. And it made me so happy that I was able to help someone, just by this exchange and moving of energies. And it was just so fascinating to me. And I mean, meanwhile, we have ways to, measure and make energy visible with technology. So we can actually measure that stuff. And that was also a part that I was really interested in, because then I feel like I have something that I can, or something that my 3D brain can, grab onto, because something kept telling me that, this is not real, this is just imagination, it's just fantasy. But there is actual evidence on how and why it works. Um, and then, then I started to become a member of the Patreon group of Matthew, and started following the School of Multidimensional Intuition. And for a while, I was watching his videos for a while already, but just in the background. But what really resonated with me was just the authenticity, because I always had the problem that, when I started becoming interested in spirituality, and I noticed that there are certain, I would say, almost like programs, like the 5D Ascension program, and then there's, the Savior program, and all these kind of boxes.
Mhm.
And I just felt like, again, I just don't fit in, it's like, with what I see or what I experience, it's like there's no place for me in this spiritual world, in this spiritual community. That's what I thought at first. But when I came across Matthew, I noticed that, okay, he also has a very individual and authentic way of seeing things that not everybody agrees with.
Mhm.
And that just really helped me to also, accept that everybody can have their own experiences and views on things. And there is not really, a right or wrong. And I'm not saying that maybe for someone, let's call it the ascension program, where they say, okay, we want to ascend to 5D and then we'll have a good time there, that this is wrong. Maybe for some, this is actually a good thing to do, but I just don't think that it's something for everybody. And it's just, I don't know, it's more of an entertaining kind of thing sometimes. Not always, but just a lot of what I see seems to be a little bit of an either ego or an entertainment kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was just glad that I found something authentic. And then I was, I could start to learn a little bit of a different modality. And yeah, I also have some friends that are also healers. One of them, I'm not sure exactly what his modality is, but he says he does a matrix. So he kind of creates a grid of energy that aligns the energies. And the other one is a pranic healer. And as I start, talking to them, I find out that what I do is actually more of pranic healing. And I had no idea, because I didn't really look into that before.
Mhm.
I just noticed that I don't really remember what your question was actually about, how I got into healing,
Fascinating.
right?
You're so
Sorry.
fascinating.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a very slow process. And I kind of slithered into it, and all of a sudden I was inspired and almost felt a little bit pushed to, go out there, do it, you can do it. And yeah, I'm here.
Can you tell us then what so you say it's more pranic in nature, but also it's definitely a blend of modalities. Plus,
Yeah.
it's also a deeper remembrance, right? Probably for you, things that you've experienced in the past, like past lives. So,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
would you be able to explain at all your modality, or kind of how you're
Yeah, well,
seeing it work right now?
yeah, sure. I can try to explain the procedure. So I love to use the oils and the crystals just as a tool to have them beside me. But usually I start off with just clearing the energy by burning some Palo Santo. And then I have my protection and shielding spray that also helps to just cleanse the energies. Then I create the sacred space when I just call in the light, the creator light and universal love. And I just want this energy to protect the session, and create kind of this container. And then I start applying the oils, and I just really try to, or actually it's spirit that guides me, which oils to choose because I have many, and then which crystals to choose. And then I like to have a little bit of salt water. So I have a small bowl of salt water because in the beginning I wasn't sure what to do with the energies that are dense that I remove
Mhm.
and where to put them, right? Because I feel like if I just throw them away, then they're actually in the room. And it's actually true because you can go over there and feel the energy. It will be warm or cold or just strange. So I thought, okay, there are several ways of doing that. If I don't have salt water, then I create like a portal of the violet flame or some sort of a portal that it just goes into.
Mhm.
I also don't like to release it in the earth. So I have my little salt,
Mm.
water, I have my oils, I have my crystals. And then after applying the oils on wherever I feel guided, I also apply them on myself because it helps me to connect with the energy of the person.
Mhm.
And then I do an energy transmission that is, well, yeah, I was told by this pranic healing, is actually a teacher, that many of my movements and what I do are from pranic healing. A lot of it goes through the breathing. So I always breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And what I basically do is the energies come from above and from below. So it's actually source energy and energy from the earth. And I pull it in through the feet and through the crown. It goes into my heart, through my arms, and then out of my hands. And it's kind of a cycle of energy goes out and energy goes in. And all of that is with the cycle with the breathing. I breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So it's kind of like I breathe in the source energy and breathe out what is no longer needed.
Mhm. Interesting.
And then I just feel, a lot of that happens basically astrally if I don't do it like in person, if the person is not with me in the room.
Mhm.
It's almost like, in one way, it's like I project the person's energy body towards me. And then, they can sit, they can lay down. Sometimes I move the body around. And then I like to start beginning by grounding. And then I open up the crown, and everything in the middle is something that I won't remember in the end because I just let myself be guided and I feel where my energy is drawn to. And sometimes I feel like charging, sometimes I feel like the gold light, sometimes I feel like blue energy or whatever. Um, and this takes me like 45 minutes to an hour. And in the end, I just kind of feel over the whole energy body again. And if I'm okay with it, then I kind of swipe it with feathers. I feel like I just clean the aura and the rest of, the energies that are no longer needed.
Mhm.
And then I do a last like clearing and cleansing again by burning Palo Santo and spraying my mist. And with that, I also disconnect, or yeah, disconnection is a little bit of a strange word, but I kind of seal the energies, from each other.
Yes.
And this is how they finish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And most of this is self-taught, right? Or taught
Yeah,
by
it's just
spirit?
I do whatever I feel intuitively guided to do.
Mhm.
Um, and I, with the time, sometimes elements change. Like something that I start doing now that I didn't do before, although I did do it, but not really in sessions. You know what I mean? It's like something I did in the background and I wasn't even aware that this is something that I can include in a healing. I used to do that with the land, but now I start to do it with people where I feel like I shake the molecules apart. I
Uh-huh.
kind of just shake it so the whole energy body becomes loose, and then more energy can enter and I can clear even easier. And then I kind of put it back together, but not as dense as it was before, so that just light can come through more easily and it can flow better.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something new.
That is so interesting. Amazing. So, how did you get into dream work? Because you have a YouTube channel, which is fabulous. You have a dream vlog series where you go over different types of dreams. And you also have examples from your own life, which I think is so fascinating. When I I really enjoy those instances because it helps me to see an example of what it could be like, right? What drew you into doing a channel about dreams, and you know, where does your interest lie with that?
Um, well, I've always been someone who dreams very realistically and very intense and kind of psychedelic.
Mm,
And I don't know if it's genetically because it seems like everyone in my family just dreams very intense. And for some reason, many dreams just felt like it's more than just a dream. And I wasn't really aware that I'm doing any kind of, real dream work until recently. At first, I just thought that I'm just a crazy dreamer.
mhm,
Um, but then I started to realize that I have so many memories of so strange dreams, and I started to write them down again because I want to become lucid in my dreams again. I used to be a natural lucid dreamer in my childhood until I was about 11.
mhm,
Then I kind of lost it, and it's just something that I really want to regain,
mhm,
especially in the times we live today. I just feel like we can be so easily manipulated when we are not fully aware
mhm, mhm,
of what's going on. And I noticed that in many of my dreams, I let things happen just because I was kind of numb, kind of on drugs. And things kind of happened to me, and then I woke up and felt like a victim in a way, or I had nightmares.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and I just want to be able to control my dream environment as good as I can, and also just to do other work because I can feel how the dream realms has many different levels. And we have like the lower astrals, then we have like the dream, like the general dream bubble, and then we have our very own subconscious mind and everything that
mhm.
is working there in our dreams. And I just felt like this is something that I want to talk about because it feels like this bubble of energy that is almost like behind my head. And for me, it's one way of releasing a lot of that energy that I just have.
Mhm,
And in another way, it's also a little bit therapeutic for me because I started to analyze different kinds of dreams and then what they mean to me
mhm.
and how I can work with it in the sense that it also helps me heal certain aspects or it shows me things that I should pay attention to.
Mhm. Oh my
And
gosh.
I just try to not really categorize it, but in a way, yes, I do that. And also, there are just many dreams that I don't want to forget, and I do have my dream journal. But if I do this series, it's also just a little bit of a nicer memory than just having an old, you know, journal that is hard to read because I write so fast because I don't want to forget it that yeah, it's hard to read. But
Yeah,
yeah, I just felt like I want to do that.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For people that might not understand what lucid dreaming is, could you go a little more in depth of an explanation for that?
Yeah, sure. So lucid dreaming means you being aware that you are dreaming. It's like you wake up in your dream and you realize, oh, I'm in a dream right now. And there are also different, I would say, levels to the lucidity. So sometimes maybe you realize that you're in a dream just for a moment, but you kind of are passive about it, and then you kind of lose the lucidity. That's something that also happens to me a lot, that I'm kind of too passive about it because there's this other thing that many people have, and me, including me, is that when you wake up in your dream, you can become very excited, right? Because you realize that, oh my God, I am actually in a dream. And I become so excited that it wakes me up.
Right.
And this is why I kind of, when I realize it, I try to stay kind of passive about it because I want to stay in the dream, but then I lose my lucidity again.
Mhm,
And so I think that there are different levels. Like when you're really lucid, you can stay in that lucid space and you can control your environment. You can, create a portal and go wherever you want to go. You can call in an angel, call in whatever, have a conversation with another dream character so you can actually talk to your subconscious self. You can go into other astral realms. There are just endless possibilities. And if you're slightly lucid, then maybe you know that you're dreaming, but you're being kind of passive about it and you don't really do anything about it. You just go with the dream, and you just kind of watch it like a movie.
Uh-huh.
And when you're kind of a little bit in the middle, then maybe you can manipulate certain things, or maybe you can fly, but it's like it's limited. So I feel like there's a whole scale of lucidity.
Do you have any tips for people to be able to develop that?
Well, I would say the thing that does work the best for me is having a dream anchor of some sort. So something that reminds you to make a reality check. And that's the second thing. So doing reality checks several times a day. And I mean, like, if you can, 30, 50 times a day, you just take a moment and look around and try to test reality, try to find out, are you in a dream or aren't you? And to do reality checks, there's so much you can do. But for example, you can pinch your nose and try to breathe through it. And if you can breathe, then you're probably in a dream. Or you can like look at a clock or at some text that you're reading, look away and look back, remembering what you saw. And if it changed, you're probably in a dream.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I like to give a little bit more effort into the reality checks because sometimes I just do it like in a second and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's not a dream, right? But I like to always keep in mind that it could still be a dream.
Mhm.
So it's just having the thought in your mind during the day that it could be a dream right now, that you could be dreaming, and to really test it, like do several tests, look at your hands, do whatever it takes, look at your clothes, remember if this is really what you put on this morning. What day is it? What date is it? How did I get here? Where was I an hour ago? And just all these
Mhm.
little details that at least I mostly don't remember in my dream. It's almost like in my dreams I just appear there and I can't really tell how I got there. Or sometimes I'm traveling, but I don't know why I'm traveling and I don't know where I'm going. Just like these little
Mhm.
like fuzzy elements in the dreams that you can recognize. Yeah.
So, do you think that the more awareness we can cultivate in our waking time, presence in our body, does that correlate to how deep we can go in a dream state then and how lucid we can be?
I would say so, very much. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the more lucidity we can gain in our waking life, the more we are used to being aware, and then we automatically do the same thing in our dream because many times we do very similar or even the exactly same things as we do in our waking life.
Mhm.
And if you're used to being aware and staying aware, then you will be aware in your dreams much more as well.
Yeah, that's an amazing tip. What would you say to people that can't remember their dreams? Because there's a lot of people that, probably are dreaming at night, but they don't remember when they wake up.
Yeah, I think many people have that, and me too. It's not like, but mostly I remember my dreams, but sometimes I wake up and I totally forget about everything. And there are people who say that they don't dream at all, and I'm not sure if that's actually possible. I mean, maybe it is, and I can imagine that some just have such a block that they actually subconsciously block the memory, because maybe it was a nightmare, or maybe something happened that would really maybe even traumatize you, because dreams aren't logic. It's many times it's highly emotional. um, I would recommend to, and that's again, that's something to practice because sometimes I also forget, but in the morning, as you wake up, just try to not open your eyes right away, because mostly we forget in the moment we open up our eyes and we change our awareness to our waking life. So instead of doing that, you can just keep your eyes closed. And in that moment, mostly we are still kind of in the dream, or it's still very close.
Mhm.
Um, and just try to remember, and you will. And if you don't, then don't stress yourself out, because what happens to me a lot is that I remember more of my dream as I go about the day. So sometimes it's really interesting how certain conversations or topics come up that trigger a dream memory. Um,
Mhm.
and so pay attention to that. If something happens and you feel like, oh, I feel like I dreamt about this, then you probably did. And then try to like grab onto this and try to remember. And sometimes the puzzle of one dream can build itself through the day. And for me, especially in the evening, for some reason, maybe it's because as the evening goes on, the melatonin levels rises again. We start to relax. We start to let go of the day, and we're not stressed out anymore, and our mind becomes free again. And if you can, if you feel relaxed, try to remember your dream in the evening, and maybe you'll be more successful then than in the morning. Because in the morning, like I wake up highly alert,
Mhm.
and then you're already like in the beta brainwave state. But try to access that in the alpha brainwave state, when you're a little bit relaxed and not worried about anything, when your body is kind of calm. And yeah, I don't know, I hope it helps, because for me, definitely the evening um, is kind of a key.
Yeah, that is such a good tip again.
Thank you.
Do you think would you want to go into some of the different categories of dreams? Like, specifically, I want to talk about past life dreams a little bit, also premonitions, you know?
Hmm.
Um, any other category of dream that you would like to speak about?
No, we can totally talk about past life dreams a little bit if you like to, because I believe that pretty much all of us do dream about past lives. And I remember that I used to dream about past lives in my childhood.
Mhm.
And it was these scenes that used to repeat and that were just extremely familiar to me. It used to be a place that looks like a place on Earth, somewhere that I have physically never been, but this place keeps showing up in my dreams. And it's possible that this place looks entirely different today if you try to look it up on maps,
Yeah.
because over thousands of years, the surface of Earth has changed a lot. But I definitely think that everybody has these dreams. And, if you don't remember your dreams, it might be kind of hard to tell. But I do feel like a lot of the energies of our past lives still work through us and show themselves in our dreams. And I feel like what is shown to us are either lives that maybe we haven't let go of fully, that there's still some unfinished business there, or something that our soul just kind of sticks to a little bit.
Mhm.
Or maybe there's something that you left in a past life that you should take back to you, to fully live your life here.
Yes.
And I feel like this was the case for me a lot of times. I feel like I was in these dreams and I was almost like living the past life, and it felt like, yeah, I'm living my life and it's totally normal. I didn't know that it's a dream. And then I wake up and I think, wow, it was this place again. There is some kind of a connection there, and it feels like a part of me is still living there. And maybe it's time to, kind of have a conversation to this astral aspect of myself, try to figure out, what are you hanging on to? What is the thing there? Um, in my case, I noticed that I experienced many things that I found very magical and mystical that I didn't want to forget. And yeah, the memory came back to me also thanks to these dreams, because I know that these things existed. For example, I used to dream, or sometimes I still do. I dream of these beautiful, magical, healing baths that they used to have in Rome. So these buildings, and then these like very ritualistic type of bathings and cleansings of the body and the spirit. And in my dreams, it's like I can totally feel the energies, and it was so powerful. And I kind of tried to replicate it in a way here in my life, in my waking life. And it's just a beautiful energy to connect to. So if you find something that is from a past life that you like to connect to and that you don't want to forget, it's like you can still bring it into the present instead of lingering in the past. You know, you can try to bring some type of an element. It could even just be an image of the place if you know the place, but just so that you know that it's here.
Mhm.
You're not forgetting it. Your soul is not forgetting it, and maybe there's something that you can use today from that.
Yes, definitely. And also some trauma too, that can come up, like past life trauma. When that shows up, it could be a clue to heal, huh? Do you find that ever?
Yes, actually, I do. And yeah, I feel like our dreams like to show us, just these hidden parts of
Mhm,
ourselves that we're absolutely not aware of.
mhm,
And we might have these dreams of, being abused or of violence or of war,
mhm.
even though we didn't experience that in our waking life. And yes, I feel like there's a lot of trauma that we work through in our dreams. And
Yeah.
so if you notice that, then you can still tune into it and maybe try to deal with the energy of, what you went through in this war, and just acknowledge it, because many times we just try to ignore it or try to avoid it because we don't want to deal with it because it's painful. But yeah, if you have the courage and if you're open to it, and you do wonderful sessions where I believe that people could come with these traumas, um, yeah, I think it's very helpful to heal these things.
So do you know what would you say the differences in a past life dream would be compared to other types of dreams? Like, are there any indications that people might know, oh, this is a past life memory?
Yeah, well, the indications for me would be that you keep dreaming about the same place or the same scenes
Mhm.
over and over again, and it can get a little bit confusing because, at least for me, I dream about, maybe 20 different past lives. But just pay attention if there is a pattern of the same places and the same scenes and same experiences that you keep having that you cannot put anywhere in your physical life. And when you have the sense of familiarity, it's like a part of yourself knows this place and knows the story.
Mhm.
It's just this recognition, and you might even feel a little bit of a homesickness or a little bit of a feeling of, yeah, unfinished business. It's like, there's still something.
Mhm. Mhm.
But else than that, yeah, it's really hard to tell because I feel like it's just an inner resonance that tells you that you know. And if you start considering the idea that it could be a past life dream, listen to your intuition. And I feel like, your gut will tell you,
Yeah.
yes, this is actually you from another life,
Yeah.
or no, it's something else.
Yeah. How about premonitions? Dreams about future,
Of the
possible future
future.
timelines or alternate timelines, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's kind of hard to tell what dreams are past lives and what dreams are just parallel incarnations. I see this more as
Mhm.
one or more as parallel
Mhm.
or other timelines. For an example for a dream of you in the present in another timeline might be that you feel like yourself and you still have the same family members, but maybe you have a different job and live in a slightly different location than you do in this life. But else than that, you might be very similar, and it also feels very familiar.
Mhm.
And it might even be a place that you know in your physical life or that you have a connection to in your physical life.
Mhm.
Um, or maybe you have a different partner, but everything is kind of similar, but something is off, or just the place you live in looks different, but everything is the same. I
Yeah.
think that would be, yeah, that could be another timeline. And when it comes to dreaming about the future, there are also like so many variations of it because many times we just get little hints in our dreams of the things that will happen the next day already. And this kind of ties into remembering dreams because you might have conversations with someone or be somewhere, and it could be that before you went to bed, you actually already had your next day planned, and maybe you thought of, tomorrow I'm gonna meet my mom and we're gonna go shopping or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
But if you didn't plan it and then you dream about having a conversation with your mom and going shopping with her spontaneously, but you dreamt about it, that's kind of a little bit of a hint that we are always connected because the linear time is really an illusion. I don't think that time doesn't exist. I feel like, yes, it does, especially here,
Hmm.
but we are always connected with time, like in all directions, and especially our body and our subconscious mind. And that's even something that they were also they could measure that in an experiment, how the body reacts to future events. And I feel like it's a little bit of that our body just knows and kind of shows us a little bit something, and then it happens. And then it can be something from the next day, but it can also be something from next year. And then another kind of dreaming about the future is when you dream about like bigger events or events that will shake you up. So you wake up from that dream thinking, wow, that was kind of crazy and kind of intense or kind of, traumatizing. And then you kind of forget about it again.
Hmm.
And then one day, a year, 2 year, 5 years later, this happens and you remember that dream.
Yes. Hmm.
And I feel like this can be a kind of dream where your higher self, maybe, or just an aspect of you, of your soul, was preparing you for this event.
Hmm.
And I talked about this to some people who also experience the same. And, the question is, can we avoid it? Because honestly, sometimes there are things that we don't want to know, that it's just not really helpful to know that something horrible is going to happen.
Hmm.
And then at least I kind of tend to avoid that because I don't want to manifest it into reality by attracting it with my thoughts.
True.
And so I kind of try to avoid that, but then it's going to happen regardless. And this is one of the things that are what I would call, fated events. It's just something that your soul has to go through for whatever reason. Either it's a karmic thing, or, it's for soul growth or for expansion, but it can't be avoided. And sometimes it can be a beautiful thing, but I don't think, or at least I don't know if there's a way of avoiding the events that have been shown.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
It can be helpful too, though. Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 You know what? I wanted to talk a little bit about infringement in the dream time, if that's something you feel comfortable talking about,
Um,
like by outside forces interfering with our dreams.
yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I was even thinking about making a video about it, but then I ended up, my last video was about the soul contracts, right? And
Yes.
I do believe that there are different outside influences that that do influence our dream state.
Hmm.
And I feel like it depends a little bit on, how sensitive someone is to energy.
Hmm.
But I feel like you could call it every kind of frequency has an influence. So it can be a crystal, it can be an electrical device, whatever is near you, whatever is in your room, whatever energies are in your environment, whatever energies are within yourself, whatever you consume
Hmm.
has an influence, I believe. And I don't think that it's that dramatic that, I've heard people talking about don't eat cheese before going to bed because you're going to have nightmares.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I do feel like some frequencies can have a little bit of a strange influence. And I'm not even talking about spirits or entities that sometimes can enter our dreams, or that can
Mhm.
kind of creep onto our physical body while we are not in our body.
Mhm.
But something that I noticed, and I don't know if it's okay to talk about that on YouTube. I mean, otherwise you can cut that out. But when they started the 5G thing,
Mhm.
um, that was kind of strange because I didn't really know what to think of it. I just thought, yeah, well, there's this new thing and it's gonna happen somewhen.
Mhm.
And I feel like they turned it on in the middle of the night
Mm.
in August. I can't even remember if it was 2020. I think so. And I woke up this night. It was pretty much, I think, 1 o'clock or so. It was like 1 a.m. around there. And I woke up feeling so nervous and anxious, and I almost had a panic. And I did not have a nightmare because I didn't sleep long enough for even having dreamt. I was maybe an hour or 1.5 asleep, and normally that's not really enough to get into these really deep dreams.
Mhm.
And I woke up just feeling panicked out, and I didn't know what's going on. And it was no full moon. It was nothing going on outside. I didn't feel, that there's anything in my room. I just felt like it's everywhere around me. And it
Mhm.
was really hard to explain. So my heart rate went up. And then I guess I adjusted with the time. I went back to sleep. But summer 2020 was a very strange year of things that I felt,
Mhm.
also physically, when I went to bed. And I don't know that, I don't know if everything has to do with the 5G, but it felt like some type of an artificial energy
Mhm.
that doesn't feel organic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I had these moments where I felt like, and that's really strange to talk about too, I felt my brain moving inside my head.
Wow.
And it felt like I had a beam or something on me.
Mhm.
Um, it was such a strange feeling because first I thought, maybe something is blowing up in my brain or something is happening. It kind of felt like a headache. So it hurt a little bit, but not really. But it just felt like my brain was just moving. And that was just a sensation I have never had before. That really freaked me out.
Wow.
But I don't think that anything bad happened. But I do feel like in these nights in summer, August 2020, when I had this and then this other brain move thing, I had one more thing, and that was when it was just a phase where I felt like I couldn't fully fall asleep because I wasn't able to loosen my astral body from the physical body. So it felt like I was in this behind this wall, and I was just in my body and I could not loosen it. And it hurt, it felt hard. And I started to fall asleep and I started to see images, and I kind of slid a little bit outside of my body, but I was like, boom, pulled back in, and it was really painful, and it was also kind of frightening.
Mhm.
And that also felt just really artificial. I don't know, it could also be astrology that was very intense maybe then, but that was just something that I never experienced before and thankfully never experienced since.
Mhm.
And
That's
then, yeah, there are some, spirits or kind of strange energies that we can attract. It's also a little bit of, it depends on your environment. It depends on what energies you are open to, consciously or unconsciously,
mhm.
and also on soul contracts that you have.
Mhm.
So, and that's also a reason why I absolutely want to gain lucidity, because I feel like it can happen and I don't want to scare anyone. That's really important to me. You can protect yourself, and I don't want to scare any of you. But it is possible that you accidentally sign a contract or sign up for something
Mhm.
with an actual entity or an energy in your dream
Mhm.
because you are not aware of what you're doing.
Mhm.
And they ask you something and you just say, yeah, sure, because you're being passive. And yeah, then you suddenly have some strange attachments, or you're going through some weird shit and you don't know where it comes from.
Mhm.
It can happen. Or, that kind of entities or spirits go and are attracted to your physical body and just hang around your body and maybe touch you and stuff like that. And I don't think that it's easy, for any spirit to just possess a body just because you're astral traveling.
Mhm.
But they can be present, and you might wake up and feel the presence and feel uncomfortable or feel anxious.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
What can we do to protect ourselves since you mentioned that?
Yeah, there's so much we can do. I mean, definitely it's so much about the environment. So I would make sure that, the energy in your room, in your bedroom especially, is cleared energetically. So you can use just your own intention and your energy. You can envision the whole room being filled with white light, like every corner. And you can like sweep through the room with that light and then open up the windows and just let in, some fresh air and
Mhm.
let the energies that are no longer needed out. And you can also like help them and swipe them out. You can say it out loud that all energies that aren't welcome or that aren't beneficial must leave now.
Mhm.
And you can also work with crystals like room crystals. Also, again, make sure that they are energetically cleansed and charged. You can burn some Palo Santo or some sage, and if you produce really a lot of smoke, and open up all the cupboards and all the
Closets and stuff.
closets, yeah, and just make sure that everything's full of smoke. But then also, at least 30 minutes before you go to sleep, open up the window, make sure that you have some fresh air, fresh energy in
Mhm.
your room. You can create your own tool if you don't have a crystal. It's like you can take anything and project your intention upon it that this is your protector. And it can be a teddy bear, and you can do so much with your energy. You can say that this is your protector now. And if this teddy is in my room and in my bed, then my bed and my room and my body is protected. And it can have a beautiful effect. Then you can also use things for, additional for the ambience and everything. You can use things that you like to smell that make you feel safe. Your bedroom has to be a place where you like to be in. Your bed should be comfortable, Um, I like to use the oils as well. So you can use herbs and oils that have the power also to repel negative spirits or entities, and or shield yourself or just elevate the energy. You can create your own, energy mist,
Mhm.
and definitely ask for it. You can ask source, God,
Mhm.
your guides, your higher self for protection. And that's something that I literally do every night.
Mhm.
I ask for protection. I ask to be wrapped into a beautiful bubble of light,
Mhm.
or I envision myself in a Merkaba,
Mhm.
or I envision the whole house in a pyramid, or whatever I feel like
Mhm.
doing that night. But I also like to ask the spirits or the angels or whatever beautiful energy that you connect with to join your astral body and to also come into your dream and protect you there as well.
Mhm.
And it just creates this, it's just important to create the feeling of being safe. Whatever it takes for you to create that, that's really what it boils down to.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so empowering. It really is for everyone to realize that we're not victims to these outside energies. We don't have to be victims at all because we are so powerful, more powerful than we could ever imagine. And like you mentioned, the intention, right? Just setting intention, and recognizing, realizing our power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What I also just want to add, just so it doesn't is forgotten, even if you experience a strange presence, even if you have nightmares, even if it wasn't nice, just be sure that it cannot really harm you. Be
Mm.
aware that yes, this moment was strange, it hurt, it feels strange, but as you said, don't feel like a victim, because it cannot hurt your soul, not really. It can hurt your mind. It can have a little bit of an influence on your emotions maybe, or on your on how you feel, but just don't let it. That's really hard to formulate that, but just don't let it control you. Don't give it the power. Realize that it cannot really hurt you.
Mhm. That's so true. Such amazing advice.
Mm.
This has been so good, Nora. I loved it. I love talking to you. And so much
Yeah.
really rich information has come forth. So I really think that it'll be so helpful to everyone watching. That's my prayer. Um, I also would hope that you could share a little bit about where people can reach you in case they want to do energy healing. I know you do remote healing, which is beautiful, absolutely tangible healing. Because you live in Switzerland, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm in Switzerland. Yeah,
So
totally.
you help people from all over the world. Um,
Yeah.
and also, would you be able to do a dream consultation with people if they were interested?
Yes, totally. So I leave my sessions pretty much open for whatever the person needs. And if it's something that I am not into or that I'm not comfortable with, then I will tell them.
Mhm.
But yeah, they can come for dream consultation as well if they like to.
Mhm.
They can find me on nora-healings.com,
Okay.
or also here on YouTube. Here on YouTube, for now, I'm just sharing my dream stuff or doing interviews here and there. But I am going to upload also a healing session. It's going to be a little bit of a general one, but not really a general one.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I'm going to actually publish that or not, but in the future for sure, just so people have a sample. But the personal sessions are really individual, just as individual as the people and their issues or things are.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you can book a session there either over Zoom, or as you mentioned, I also do the absent healings, because there are some people out there who actually do benefit a lot from an energy healing, but they have so much anxiety that they can't even come on a Zoom call and be on camera and stuff like that. Or maybe they just don't have time, but they would still like some energy healing or a little boost.
Yeah.
And yeah, whatever people prefer, if absent or in person, I actually do the exact same thing, and I connect energetically and astrally, and that's why distance and time and all of that really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Nora, so, so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor,
Yes.
and yeah, maybe you will join my channel one day as well.
I would love to. Have
Awesome.
Thank you. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for being here with us. Until next time.